Hi guys, it's Mrs. Green Science Queen here today to teach you how to classify a food chain or a food web. For every organism in the food chain or the food web, you are going to ask the following questions in order. So it's very important that you go back to the beginning of this list, question number 1, each time you reach a new organism in the food chain or food web. Now I'm going to take you through these questions and how they work, and then we're going to do an example together. So the first question is the organism a producer or a consumer? If it is a producer, you write producer and you are done. If it is a consumer, then you have to go on to question number 2. Question number 2 says, what level consumer is it? The primary, the secondary, etc. Primary is the first consumer in the food chain. Secondary is the second consumer. Tertiary is the third. And then we have the fourth level and the fifth level consumer. Then for all answers, you're going to move on to question number 3. Is it an herbivore or a carnivore? If you determine the organism is an herbivore, you are done. You write herbivore and you are done with that organism. If you determine it is a carnivore, you write carnivore and you move on to question number 4. Question number 4 says, is it a predator, scavenger, or decomposer? So you pick which one you think it is, predator, scavenger, or decomposer. And you remember that if it's a predator, you have to go back to the organism before and also label that organism as prey. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go through an example together using these 4 questions. So here we have an example of a food chain. Grass is eaten by a rabbit, which is eaten by raccoon A, which then dies, which is eaten by raccoon B, which is eaten by a bobcat, which is eaten by a bear that dies, and that bear is then eaten by fungi. So we need to classify each organism. We have all the organisms listed here, each organism in the food chain. Right, let me fix a couple typos here. All right, so we start off with the grass. So we go to the first question. Is it a producer or a consumer? Well, grass is a plant, and we know that plants are producers. So we write a producer, and that's it. We're done. Something is a producer, that's all it is, okay? We also know that food chains and food webs must always start with the producer. The first organism must be a producer because we need something that's able to take the energy from the sun and then turn it into the chemical energy that all other living things need. So now we go back onto the next organism, which is the rabbit. We go back to the first question. Is it a producer or a consumer? Well, the rabbit is consuming, it's eating the grass. So it is a consumer, which means now we have to go on to the second question. What level consumer is it? Well, since this is the first consumer in the food chain, it is the primary consumer. So then we go on to the third question. Is it an herbivore or a carnivore? Well, in this food chain, the rabbit is eating grass, which makes it an herbivore. And if we look, when we write herbivore, we're done with this organism. So now we go on to the next organism, raccoon A. We go back to the first question. Is it a producer or a consumer? Well, it is a consumer because it's eating the rabbit. Second question, what level consumer? Well, this is the second consumer in the food chain, so it is the secondary consumer. Third question, is it an herbivore or a carnivore? Well, in here, the raccoon is eating the rabbit, so that makes it a carnivore. Now we have to move on to the fourth question. Is it a predator, a decomposer, or a scavenger? Well, since we see that raccoon, well, the rabbit was not dead before the raccoon ate it, so that must make the raccoon a predator. And we have to remember, when we make something a predator, we have to go back and label the organism above it prey. Now we go on to raccoon B. Back to the first question. Is it a producer or a consumer? Well, it's consuming raccoon A, so it is a consumer. Second question, what level consumer? Well, it's the third level consumer or the tertiary consumer because it's the third thing that consumes in this food chain. Next question, is it an herbivore or carnivore? Well, it's eating raccoon A, so it is a carnivore. Fourth and final question, is it a predator, a decomposer, or a scavenger? Well, we see here that it says raccoon A dies before raccoon B eats it. So if raccoon B is eating it and it's already dead, that makes raccoon B a scavenger in this food chain. And then we're done, because we don't go back and make prey. It's only prey if it's eaten by a predator. If something's eaten by a scavenger, then you're done. So now we go on to the next organism, the bobcat. First question, producer or consumer? It is a consumer. Next question, what level consumer? This is the fourth level consumer. We'll just write fourth level. It's actually quaternary, but you don't have to worry about that. It is the fourth level consumer. Is it an herbivore or carnivore? It is a carnivore because it is eating the raccoon B. Is it predator, scavenger, or decomposer? Well, it doesn't say anything about raccoon B being dead, so it must be a predator. And we have to remember to then go up and make raccoon B prey. The bear. The first question, producer or consumer? It is a consumer. Second question, what level? It is the fifth level consumer. Third question, is it a carnivore or an herbivore? Well, it's eating the bobcat, so it is a carnivore. Okay. Fourth question, is it a predator, scavenger, or decomposer? Well, the bobcat isn't dead, so it must be a predator. And we have to remember to go back up and make the bobcat prey. And then finally, we have our final organism, the fungi. Is it a producer or consumer? Well, it is a consumer because it is consuming the bear. What level? It is the sixth level. Is it an herbivore or carnivore? It's a carnivore because it's consuming the bear. And then, is it a predator, scavenger, or decomposer? Well, the bear is dead, and we know that bacteria and fungi act as decomposers. Also, food chains and food webs are usually going to end with decomposers. So that explains how you classify a food chain. Have a great day.